Somewhere in your first 2 years of life, something happened to you that you will never get back. Not a tragedy, not a loss anyone warned you about, just a door that quietly closed. You learned to walk through it. You learned to speak through it. You fell in love with a parent's voice through it. And then the door shut, and you have no memory of any of it. Why? You probably assume your brain just wasn't recording yet, that before a certain age, there was nothing to remember because nothing was happening. That feels obvious. It feels safe. But the real answer is far stranger. Your baby brain was recording. It was recording constantly. The problem was never storage. The problem is retrieval. And once you understand the difference, you will never think about your own mind the same way again. Let's start with the name for this gap. Scientists call it infantile amnesia. It refers to the near total inability of adults to recall events from before roughly age 3 or 4. Sigmund Freud noticed this over a century ago and gave it its name, though his explanation involved repressed instincts, which modern science has mostly moved past. What Freud got right was the observation itself. The gap is real. It is universal. And it is oddly precise. Here's the part that should stop you. If your baby brain wasn't forming memories at all, this would be simple. No storage, no retrieval, case closed. But that's not what the evidence shows. In a series of experiments starting in the 1980s, psychologist Carolyn Rovee-Collier tied a ribbon from an infant's ankle to a mobile hanging above their crib. The babies, some only 2 or 3 months old, quickly learned that kicking made the mobile move. Weeks later, researchers brought the babies back. The moment they saw the same mobile, before anyone touched the ribbon, they started kicking. Their legs remembered. Their brains remembered. The memory was in there, so the babies could remember. For weeks, sometimes longer with the right reminders, which means something else has to explain why none of it survives into your adult mind. What is it? The answer lives in a small, seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain called the hippocampus. Think of it as the brain's filing clerk. Its job is to take a raw experience and bind it into a stable, retrievable memory, then file it away with enough context that you can find it again years later. In infants, this filing clerk is still under construction. The neurons are still growing. The connections are still forming. Psychologist Patricia Bauer, who has spent decades studying how memory develops in early childhood, has shown that this system matures gradually, not overnight, and that the earliest memories children do form are especially fragile and prone to fading entirely within a year or two. So picture it like this. Your infant brain was writing memories onto pages, but the filing cabinet wasn't built yet. The pages existed. They just had nowhere permanent to live. Most of them were eventually recycled to make room for the flood of new experience arriving every single day. But there's a second piece to this puzzle, and it's the one most people never hear about. Language. Think about how you retrieve a memory right now. You reach for words. You tell yourself a story. That was the summer we drove to the coast. That was the day I broke my arm. Memory, for an adult, is often narrated. It has a beginning. It has a sequence. It has a place inside a timeline you can describe out loud. A 1-year-old has none of that scaffolding. No timeline. No language to hang an experience on. The experience happens as pure sensation, pure emotion, pure motion, with no narrative thread stitching it to everything else. Once language does arrive, somewhere around age 2 or 3, children finally gain the tool to organize memory the way adults do. And this is exactly when the earliest keepable memories start to appear. Not because memory switched on, because the storage system it needed to survive finally came online. Does that mean your first 2 years are simply gone, erased like a file deleted from a hard drive? Not quite. And this is the counterintuitive twist. Those early experiences didn't vanish. They just changed form. They stopped being memories you can narrate and became something else entirely. The architecture of who you are, the way you attach to people you trust, the way your nervous system responds to comfort, or to being startled, or to being left alone in a room. Researchers call this implicit memory, and unlike the explicit story-shaped memories you form later in life, implicit memory doesn't need the hippocampus's filing system at all. It gets written directly into your reflexes, your instincts, your emotional defaults. So when a baby who was held and soothed grows into an adult who finds comfort easy to accept, and a baby who wasn't grows into someone who flinches from closeness, neither of them remembers why. There's no scene to recall, no name for the moment it started. Just a pattern, running quietly in the background, built before language, before the filing cabinet, before any of it could be turned into a story. That should make you look at your own earliest years differently. You didn't lose that time. You became it. Now here's where it gets stranger still, because this isn't just a story about babies. It's a story about you, today, in ways you're still living. Have you ever had a memory that felt completely real, only to find out later it never actually happened that way? Maybe a memory of an event you were actually just told about so many times, by so many people, that your brain built it as if you'd lived it. This isn't a flaw unique to childhood memory. It's how memory works at every age. Your brain doesn't play back a recording. It reconstructs an approximation every single time, using whatever fragments and cues are available. As a baby, you had almost no cues, almost no narrative scaffolding, and almost no stable filing system. Which is exactly why nothing from that era survives in story form. It's not that your brain failed you back then. It's that your brain was doing, at full volume, with none of the tools, the exact same reconstructive trick it still does for you every day. And there's a modern mirror to all of this that most people never notice. Think about how hard it is to remember the specific details of a trip you took 5 years ago versus how easily you remember the emotional feeling of it. Warm? Relaxed? Free? The facts blur first. The feeling stays. That's the same split happening in your infant brain, just turned up to an extreme. No facts survived at all. Only the feeling did. Only the architecture. So the next time someone asks whether you remember anything from before you were 3 and you say no, you can tell them the more accurate answer. You do remember, just not in a form you can put into words. You remember in the way you flinch, or don't. In the way you trust, or hesitate to. In the shape of the person those unremembered years quietly built. At the start, this felt like a loss. A door closing on the first 2 years of your life, gone for good. But the real answer is far stranger than a loss. Nothing closed. It just changed form, and it's still speaking every single day in a language you never learned to translate back into words.